Hello and welcome to another episode of Video Game Easter Eggs, the series where we take a look at some of the latest and not so latest Easter eggs in video games. Once again, I'll remind you that this isn't a countdown or a top 10 video. This is a video about the Easter eggs that I found and that I think are cool. So after years of making highly entertaining YouTube videos poking fun at both games big and small, Video Game Dunkey put his money where his mouth is and formed Big Mode, a video game publishing company that aims to, in his own words, only publish the best of the best. Well, last week Big Mode's first game was released, and did so to overwhelmingly positive reviews. Animal Well is a Metroidvania that sees you take control of a blob as you try to work out what the hell is going on. And I mean that. When the game begins, you aren't told anything, you just head off in a direction to see what you can find. Now to be clear, I haven't played a massive amount of Animal Well, but what I have played is more than enough for me to know that this is a game that I do want to experience more of, which can't be said for every game that I feature on this channel. Anyway, the only Easter egg that I've managed to find from Animal Well actually references another very popular indie game. If you hold down the jump button, this will happen. So your blob will transform into a fox, but not just any fox, this is the fox from 2022's Tunic. Now I could be wrong here, but I get the feeling that Animal Well is going to be packed with cool Easter eggs and secrets, so if you happen to have found anything, let me know in the comments. So it turns out that Another Crab's Treasure is one of those games where just when I think I've seen all there is to see, I will then be recommended even more Easter eggs and secrets to find, which to be honest, isn't a bad thing. The first Easter egg for today's video from the unsuspecting Souls-like actually references one of the most memed scenes in video game history. The F key in the Shellfish Desires logo can be plucked from the sign and used as a shield, and if you read its description, it says that the key was used to pay respects to fallen soldiers, which is a reference to the famous press F to pay respect scene from Call of Duty Advanced Warfare. Now, there is a lot of trash found in the seas of Another Crab's Treasure, but you know what they say, one man's trash is another man's Nintendo 64 cartridge. Or something like that. In the Unfathom, you can find an N64 version of another Aggro Crab developed game, the excellent Going Under, which of course can be used as a shield. And in the same area, you can also find this. So despite being called Mood, I think we all know that this is a reference to the classic FPS Doom. Now, a couple of episodes back, we discovered that you could cosplay as Mr. Krabs from the SpongeBob series. But even then, I thought there had to be more SpongeBob Easter eggs lurking in the murky depths. And I was right. In the sands in between, you can find this. So this pineapple under the sea is a reference to the home of SpongeBob SquarePants himself. Right, it's now time for our overused video game Easter egg of the week. The segment where we take a look at one Easter egg that has been referenced to death in video games. Today's overused Easter egg can be found in physics-based brawler Party Animals. On the game's third mission, you can find this. Yep, it's another appearance from our good old friend, Wilson the Volleyball, from the Tom Hanks movie, Castaway. Be sure to join me next time for another overused video game Easter egg of the week. Now, despite major video game companies seemingly doing everything they can to alienate fans, indie games have been on fire recently. In the past couple of weeks, we've had Another Crab's Treasure, Animal Well, and Hades 2 to name just a few. And if none of those tickle your fancy, how about Untitled Cat Game? Okay, so it's not called Untitled Cat Game, it's called Little Kitty Big City, but the similarities between it and the excellent Untitled Goose Game are too obvious to ignore. Little Kitty Big City is all about getting your cat back home safe and sound after it fell from its cushy apartment window onto the streets of Japan below. Now the Easter eggs found in Little Kitty Big City aren't going to blow your mind, but the first one might just make you laugh. When searching the bins for anything useful, there is a chance that this will happen. So for some reason, the sight of a humble cucumber will scare your cat. Now, I personally don't own a cat, I'm more of a dog person, but I do remember seeing a TikTok where someone placed a cucumber behind their cat with hilarious results. The next couple of references in Little Kitty can be found when looking at the many collectible hats in the game. First up is the turtle hat, which is just a green shell. This has a description of, now why do I suddenly want to race go-karts with a plumber in red overalls? Which is an obvious nod to the Mario Kart series. The other pop culture referencing hat is the shark hat, which simply says, Kitty Shark do 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 do, which is a reference to the Baby Shark song that will now be stuck in your head for the rest of the day. The final Little Kitty Easter egg can be seen when rounding up all of the ducklings. One of the little guys can be found hanging out in an arcade, and the game they're playing may look familiar. So the duckling is playing a duckified version of Street Fighter 2, which is really cool. Oh, and I don't think that this is an Easter egg, but I'll mention it anyway. Whenever your cat climbs into a box, I was always reminded of Metal Gear Solid and Snake's obsession with hiding in boxes. But I know that cats do like to hide in boxes too, so I'm sure it's just a coincidence. Now, the chances are that if you're of a certain age, seeing this next game will take you on a trip down memory lane. Charlie Murder is a side-scrolling 2D beat-em-up that was originally released for the Xbox 360 in 2013 before being ported to Steam in 2017. You begin the game as Charlie, though you can play as other members of the band, each with their own unique strengths and weaknesses. I mean, for those looking for some simple but gory action, you could do a lot worse than Charlie Murder. Anyway, the first Easter egg from the game can be found just before entering the asylum. Here you have to throw a small child over a fence to grab a key, and when pulling the little guy back, we can spot some familiar faces. The first one is this Pyramid Head inspired playground toy that definitely shouldn't be anywhere near a playground, and the second one is this My Little Pony toy, which is a little more suited to a play area. Oh, and there is a third toy here, this duck, but I don't think it's a reference to anything. I think it's just a duck. The other Easter egg that I found in Charlie Murder can be found in the asylum. As you explore the creepy hallways, you fall through the floor and end up here. So Charlie wakes up with his head in a trap and is forced to fish the key for the trap out of a corpse in the room. This is a reference to Saw 1 and the trap that Amanda was placed in, which she successfully escaped from. In fact, just before the fall, you can find this person who looks an awful lot like Amanda from the movies. Right, the final Easter egg for today's video may end up scarring you for life. Unspoken is a first-person horror game centered around a spate of brutal home invasions. The game opts for a PlayStation 1 retro visual style, which you will either love or hate, but not being able to see clearly does add to the tension. Anyway, right at the beginning of the game, if you explore the house you wake up in, you can find this. So this is obviously a reference to Among Us, though the body proportions are all kinds of messed up, with this particular crewmate looking jacked. Still, not to worry, it's just a small figure that can't hurt you. Well, if you head to the elevator and enter the code that I do, you will have something a lot bigger to worry about. Now, I don't know if it's just me, but does the sight of massive Among Us crewmates, complete with jacked bodies, put you on edge? I mean, the crewmates are already weird looking, but imagine waking up with this standing at the end of your bed. So that's it. If you enjoyed this video, then leaving a like is really appreciated. If you are a fan of Easter eggs and secrets in games, then perhaps consider subscribing. And if you want more videos just like this one, perhaps click one of the videos on screen, as YouTube seems to think you'll like those too. As always, a big thank you for watching my videos, and I will speak to you all soon.